Hello, my name is Alexis Brooks, and I have completed my final project on the multi-generational workforce and how the age gap affects workplace productivity. First, I would like to offer some background as to why I chose this topic and information that you as the audience should know. There are currently 5 generations working together in the workforce. This has never occurred before, which is why it's so important for managers and organizations to learn more about the issue. The working generations from oldest to youngest are the traditionalists, baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and Generation Z. Generation Z is new to the workforce and just recently became of working age. The biggest item to grasp is the fact that each generation possesses their own qualities or characteristics that make them different from the other generations. These differences pose challenges for managers who must discover the best way to improve productivity among their workers. According to 2017 U.S. Census Bureau data, millennials make up the largest portion of the workforce, followed by Generation X, baby boomers, Generation Z, and then finally the traditionalists. If you take a look at the graphic to the right side of the slide here, the change is very clear. While only 3 generations made up the workforce back in 1994, this makeup has drastically changed in just 23 years. There are some notable areas on which the generations differ. For example, traditionalists and baby boomers are known to be loyal and hardworking, and they're not going to say no to working late. Generation X, millennials, and Generation Z prefer a work-life balance or flexible work schedules. This is one clear difference between the older and younger generations. There is also a clear distinction when it comes to what the generations expect from their managers. Millennials and Generation Z are accustomed to having technology at their fingertips, where they can send and receive a text instantly. Therefore, these generations expect immediate feedback from their managers. The older generations are used to an annual performance review to determine in what way they can improve their work performance. The younger generations want to know how they can improve immediately, as they're consistently striving for development and growth. One final point I want to touch on is rewards. Traditionalists prefer tangible rewards, while baby boomers look for moving up within their company as a way of motivation. Generation X would prefer a flexible schedule or bonus, while millennials and Generation Z want more opportunity and experience to grow and develop. There are many other differences between the generations' work and life values, but I just wanted to touch on some that stick out a little more than others. So some important trends to note are the fact that the current employee base spans more than 40 years. Also, there is a disconnect between the generations as a result of these differences that each cohort possesses. Also, the work ethics differ from generation to generation, which is why some of the generational preferences are so obvious. Lastly, each group possesses their own uniqueness, morals, and attitudes regarding their employment based on the group's life encounters. Each generation has lived through different life events which have helped shape who they are. Some trending differences among the generations that I picked up on when conducting my research include workplace behavior and interaction, communication style, adapting to change, and technology. One study interviewed members of each generation, aside from Generation Z, and the results revealed 3 distinct areas in which the generations differ: dedication, responsibility, and teamwork. Millennials are known to have strong ethics and are civic-minded, giving them a strong sense of dedication to a team and organization. Like millennials, Generation X has a desire for a work-life balance, but is said to be less dedicated to their job than millennials, which may not be true for all members of Generation X. Baby boomers are focused on getting a job done and will work hard to do so, making them very dedicated. Responsibility proved interesting results because baby boomers view millennials as know-it-alls, assuming that millennials think they know more than the older workers and think less about others, leading to an unfavorable work ethic. Teamwork is vital to improving worker productivity, and the study revealed that many people prefer to work alone, but Generation X have similar work values to baby boomers in the sense that baby boomers are independent, but Generation X also has the freshness of a millennial, making Generation X effective team members. The preferred communication methods differ among generations as well. The younger, tech-savvy generations prefer emails or instant means of communication, while older generations prefer in-person meetings. Baby boomers utilize reserved communication styles, while millennials prefer collaborative means of interaction. Millennials seek frequent, ongoing feedback from managers, so managers must recognize that each employee prefers different methods of communication and approach employees in a way that they'll effectively receive new information. Not everyone accepts and adapts to change easily. Generation X and millennials view change as an opportunity, while Generation Z is accustomed to change. Older workers have difficulty adapting to change, but some younger workers do as well. When change does occur, managers must help employees respond and adapt to those changes. Technology may be one of the most obvious areas in which the generations differ. Technology is a significant driving force that pushes the generations apart. For example, baby boomers and Generation X prefer to learn via instructor-led training, while millennials enjoy learning with technology. The older generations who did not grow up with technology want to see the existing technology made more user-friendly. One important item to note about these differences is that not every member of each generation is going to fit the way in which I just described the generations. Some baby boomers may love technology and some millennials may hate it. The challenge for management becomes how to reach each employee as an individual to make them as effective a worker as they can be. So now that we determined what has resulted from 5 generations working together, it's important to give managers insight as to what can be done to improve worker productivity. First, managers must recognize their multi-generational workforce and that there are differences in terms of how each employee works, learns, and succeeds. Recognizing that there are not just differences among the generations, but among employees in general is important. Next, managers should encourage diversity among their organization. Welcoming each employee's views and perspectives will allow them to grow and help the organization grow as a whole. Allow opportunity for team building so that members of each generation can work together and learn one another's strengths and weaknesses. Managers should take the time to educate employees on generational differences so employees understand why managers are taking the time to encourage them to work together. Encouraging collaboration is also important and an essential part of learning activities in today's work environment. Collaborating on projects can help employees learn from one another's successes and mistakes. Mentoring programs can be a great way to encourage collaboration. One example comes from MasterCard, who has offered reciprocal mentoring programs. The Chief Human Resources Officer at MasterCard, Ron, he is a baby boomer, was paired with a millennial at the company, Rebecca, who was able to teach Ron how to use Twitter and get more out of professional networking sites such as LinkedIn. Rebecca, in turn, learned more effective communication skills from Ron. So such programs clearly can provide a mutual benefit to each member who is participating in the mentoring program. When it comes to leadership, managers can no longer utilize a uniform leadership style. Managers should get to know their employees as individuals because this will help them avoid stereotypes and realize that each employee works differently. Having periodic check-ins rather than just an annual performance review can help managers achieve this. Although generational differences were discussed abundantly in this paper, the oversimplified image created about each cohort cannot blind management from what employees can do as individuals. Avoiding generalizations and stereotypes will help managers learn their employees on an individual level. This can help make the age gap less important and help remove related stigmas. The continued use of generalizations by managers and organizations can raise fairness issues and damage worker productivity, so avoiding the generalizations and stereotype is extremely encouraged. After reviewing the research that I've collected, there's a few recommendations I would offer employers about improving worker productivity among their multi-generational workforce. As I just discussed, avoid stereotypes. Yes, there are many generational members who match the information that defines their cohort, but getting to know each employee individually will make he or she feel more valued. Also, assuming something about an employee based on what generation they belong to may lead to legal issues. For example, traditionalists, baby boomers, and about half of Generation Z are protected under the Age Discrimination in Employment Act. If a manager treats one of these groups differently based on their age or makes decisions based on their age, the organization could face legal issues. The best action managers can take when determining the value of work that an employee can offer is to look at their individual skill set rather than making assumptions based on their associated generation. Another recommendation I have is to encourage collaboration. Encouraging both leaders and employees to embrace their similarities rather than focusing on their differences can build collaboration and trust across the generations. Taking the time to mix and match project teams can serve as an opportunity for team building and prompt innovation, as well as new problem-solving techniques. Cross-generational collaboration can create learning opportunities for each generation, as they can learn more from one another's successes and mistakes. The mentorship programs I mentioned earlier draw on the different values and knowledge of multi-generational employees, so that way you're actually providing a competitive advantage for both parties that are involved. The last recommendation I would offer is for leaders to customize their management style to meet the needs of each individual worker. To get the most out of employees, managers must view them as individuals and not types. Communication with employees based on their personal preference can be very effective. Employees must be evaluated on who they are, not based on the generation they belong to. Getting to know employees can help understand what motivates them and inspires them, which can allow employees to grow and develop. When a manager sees their employees or employees see their coworkers for what they can actually bring to the table, team productivity can rise. I chose this topic due to the differences among generations that I notice in my own place of work. For example, I am a millennial and I am surrounded by other millennials, baby boomers, Generation X. So it's just very interesting to actually learn and dive a little bit more into this issue that I kind of am, seeing on a daily basis. So after reaching the end of this product, I have learned that there is a lot more to generational differences than expected when I started the project. There's likely still so much to learn based on the information I have learned from the research, and as Generation Z has barely entered the workforce, it'll be interesting to see what impact they end up having. The generational preferences differ in more areas than I expected. I have noticed the obvious differences such as technology and the desire for work-life balance, but learning how generations prefer a certain management style or type of reward was very interesting. I learned that while these generational differences are evident, managers should also take the time to learn about their employees on an individual basis. While some workflows cannot be individualized, employees would appreciate those that can. Overall, recognizing that there is not a one-size-fits-all approach to leading a multi-generational workforce will help organizations successfully manage the age gap and improve worker productivity. When it comes to what I would have done differently, I wish I would have thought to personally interview members of different generations, getting some face-to-face feedback on how a baby boomer likes working with a millennial, or how a millennial feels about their company's maybe less than technologically advanced systems would have been very interesting. Overall, I feel I gained a great deal of knowledge on my topic, and I hope to find ways to improve productivity among multiple generations in my own way someday. Thank you for watching, and just here is the references utilized for my paper and this project. Thank you.